The ants go marching one by one, hurrah, hurrah. The ants go marching one by one, hurrah, hurrah. The ants go marching one by one. The little one stops to suck his thumb, and they all go marching down to the ground to get out of the rain. Boom, 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 boom.
All right, so with that, hi and welcome to After the Hype with me as your host, as always, Bryan Dressel. With me, as always, is Chewie Darso.
Oh, hello.
And Ryan James.
Yeah.
Jonathan Hardesty is not here today because he got called into work. Poor Jonathan Hardesty.
John.
If he's listening out there, we miss you.
Yeah. Special guest today, you might remember him from a few weeks ago. What was it, like 6 weeks? I don't remember. Yeah, time flies on this thing. We have Erik Steffens on.
Hey, guys.
Erik, do you want to tell people a little bit about yourself, where we can find you, all that sort of fun stuff?
You can find me on Instagram, The Imperfect Chase. Imperfect, like IMPERFECT. Make sure I did there. And Chase, CHASE. If you want to go see me, I'm going to be at Sal's Comedy Hole doing stand-up next Saturday. Tickets are only $10 if you buy in advance, and it's at 8 p.m. Yeah, and I'm Erik Steffens on Twitter, but I hardly use Twitter.
I think by the time this comes out, it will be this Saturday because you're talking about.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, because this will drop the upcoming Thursday.
Okay,
so by that point.
Yeah, so 2 days from now.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Come see me do stand-up. It's really good stuff. Bryan and Chewie actually saw me.
Yeah,
a couple weeks ago.
I can attest. It's not just being friends from 6th grade. Like, oh, I have to enjoy this. Like, I legitimately enjoyed this. Like, I've been to many a thing of, yeah, I enjoyed it because we're friends. And this one, actually, he was very, very funny.
It's one of those amazing backhanded compliments when you're
Yeah.
like, oh,
Yeah.
surprisingly, I actually thought you were funny.
Well,
and I'm not being
Yeah, you
nice.
get that too. People being like, wow, you were really funny, which I feel as them being like, wow, you're usually boring.
Right.
You know, like that's how they're going.
It's like I said to you after your show. Like, I've known you since 6th grade. I've always enjoyed your comedy, but I wasn't like concerned. But it was one of those things like I wonder how it's going to translate to stage.
Right,
And
right.
I can tell you, it was a very flawless transition. It was very, very funny. It's
Yeah.
nice to see people enjoy what I've enjoyed since 6th grade. That's great.
Right. Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
of
you very
course.
much. Yeah. It was a really good compliment there.
All right, so
I-
moving on to where have you been doing? I'm going to go first. I went and saw Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 Out of the Shadows last night. And I'm going to keep this nice and short, and luckily Chewie's walked away so she can't scream all her hate about it. Oh, she's walking back.
Here she
might
comes.
still
She's
scream.
coming back to
Oh,
hate
no,
on it.
oh, no. No, I as a Turtles fan, I loved the shit out of it. It was exactly what I wanted to see from like a Ninja Turtles movie. If I was, say, like 8, if this came out the same time the original did, this would be my favorite movie of all time. Because it's basically just a love letter to the cartoons, which it's great, and it's a lot of fun. And they, again, trying to keep it
it's
short.
better than the first Turtles?
No.
I mean, no, but if I was little and this is the one that come out, it would have been my
gotcha.
favorite thing in the world. Now, just kind of knowing more about like film, that's definitely a better film.
Okay.
It still is not my favorite. My favorite is still, even the first one's not my favorite. My favorite is the 2007 TMNT because that movie is phenomenal.
My favorite will still be the current cartoon show because
I'm just talking about movies. The
Yeah.
current cartoon show is great.
No, just the first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie is like intense. Like
Yeah, it's
if
great.
you go back and watch it, like
it's a much better movie.
Ralph sitting in the tub is like,
Yeah.
gets me.
Go listen to John and I on the Front Row Movie Reviews podcast, and we talk all about it. But yeah, so the things that I liked about it is that the first movie had way too much like product placement. It was a story about April and Vern for some reason, and this movie throws all that out the window. There's very, very, very little product placement in it. It's a movie strictly about the Turtles. It's their character arcs. All 4 of them get an arc in the movie.
This one was not directed by Michael Bay, right?
Neither was the first one.
Oh, okay.
They're both just produced by him. But
I see.
they actually fired the director of the first one and replaced him with, I think, Brad something. But they did a really good job with it. I thought it was a lot of fun. It's not a flawless movie by any stretch of the imagination, but I had a lot of fun with it. And I really, really just... Like, they took everything that worked in the first movie and just, like, kind of amped it up to 11. So they really nailed the Turtles in the first one and nothing else. And now the Turtles are even better. The characters
turtle
are
design
great.
is better.
The turtle design is better. They don't all look like huge hulking monsters. Raph still does, but the rest of them, they've definitely shrunk down a little bit. Like, Donatello's really kind of skinny and lanky and looks more nerdy. Michelangelo's a lot smaller this time. Like, they just made improvements all around. And it really kind of, it brings in, I read one review that said this that I think is really, really true. If they keep getting better at this rate, by the third one, we're going to have a great movie. But I kind of wish this one was as great as I want it to be, and I will continue to say that it is, although I might know it's not the best thing in the world. I still loved it and I had a blast.
I like the first 3 where they went to Turtles in Time and then it...
Turtles in Time still might be better than the fucking 2014 movie, which was just a pile
It
of shit.
actually
Oh, yeah, I'll give
is.
If they get better at this rate, it'll be the only franchise in history to have the best one be the third.
Yeah, it'd be really weird, but we'll see. But I mean, nobody was there last night. I think our theater was maybe a quarter full, so I think
That's
this
so
movie's gonna
sad.
tank, and we're not gonna get another one.
Yeah,
it was
probably.
it was pretty surprising to me actually how few people were there on opening weekend, Friday night.
I mean, it's just people are basing it off the first movie, which sucked, so nobody wants to see.
But
this
that still made a ton of money.
I
They made
love
a decent amount of
love Ninja Turtles. I absolutely love. I mean, I'm a huge Ninja Turtles fan to this day. I got 15 minutes into that first movie and I could not do it. I could not. I even stopped. I went back. I did like Love Labor's Lost that you did, but I only made it like 10 minutes break. 10 minutes again.
Yeah.
It's like I'm not. Like I'm out.
Yeah,
I'm out.
it's just not a good movie.
Yeah.
But this one is definitely worth. Like, if you don't want to go see it in theaters, I understand. But you should definitely check it out when it hits
Yeah,
video.
that was a good. That was a good short description.
Yeah, it's
you
a
gave
lot
there.
of fun. Next.
So I'll go. As pretty often, I'll talk about the comics that I read this week. This was the start of Marvel's Civil War II event, the official kickoff. They've had like a number 0 and a road to number 0.5. I forget what the one from Free Comic Book Day was, but this is the official number 1 this week, and it was pretty good. And I always really enjoy Bryan Bendis' writing, and the way that he writes the Avengers, the new Avengers, to me is way better than their main line by Mark Waid. And I always love that in comic books they can do like, I'll just say it, they can do ballsier things than they can do in the movies, and some pretty big consequences to combat happen this week in Civil War 2.
Great.
It was funny listening to Bryan read it because he was really enjoying it, but then getting mad at the same time. Because
I don't want to keep buying their
Yeah.
books because they're so fucking expensive right now. And I'm reading going, God damn it, it's good.
Yeah.
I have to buy the next one.
hey,
Fuck.
Marvel, make your books not $6.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, it is a very nice book. And I don't mean that like it's like a nice, pretty. It's like
Right.
it's like a good paper stock. It feels sturdy. Like they put a lot of work into it. And the artwork is phenomenal. So it's not like a waste of money by any stretch of the imagination. I'm so happy with DC right now keeping all the books at $3.
Yeah. To be honest, it is not
I
as
don't buy
nice.
comics,
Oh,
so-
I didn't buy the regular cover of Civil War 2, but I don't think it had the nice cardstock that Secret Wars number 1 did.
And this thing was a thick book.
It was a thick book, but Secret Wars number 1 actually had a cover printed on thicker paper so that the book kind of stays flat when you put it down.
And this might have that then.
Okay.
Because I not like it was awkwardly sturdy for me.
Okay.
Chewie, where have you been doing?
Well, I watched the finales of both The Flash and Arrow.
Ooh.
I enjoyed the finale of Arrow more than apparently everyone else did.
Everyone seemed to hate the shit out
Like,
of it.
there's a lot of consequences in both shows right now.
Right.
Like, things happened and it affected everyone. And for people to get mad at that, I'm like, you're just wanting... Because I feel like both of the shows ended on a note that is definitely influencing the next season. Like,
Oh my God, yeah.
they're not back to status one. They're to like, oh shit, like how are things going to be? Like, I can't do any spoilers because I know Bryan hasn't seen either of them. And the way that Arrow ended, for a slight spoiler, there's no Team Arrow anymore.
They've been doing that the whole season.
But so it's just like, well, I don't really know how the next season's going to roll out, like what's going to happen. I hope they don't immediately go, everyone got fixed during the summer and we're all back
I was gonna
together.
say, like the end of the last one, Arrow quits. The very first episode, hey, we're back.
yeah,
But
I
I don't
hope-
got sleeves now. New
I got off
costume.
my sleeves.
I really hope they don't do that again. Like,
They're going
let's
to.
actually
Yeah.
deal with these consequences.
They won't.
I just want a sweet Green Arrow story, not a CW soap opera with a name that I've heard.
I'm sorry, it's CW. You're going to get a soap opera.
But Flash is pretty good.
Eric, where have you been doing?
I mean, I've been grinding the open mics quite a lot. That's been a big part of it. But if we're going, I won't talk about X-Men Apocalypse because it's too fresh and I don't want to mess with anybody on that. I think better, because I can't do tons of spoilers on this, is I just started watching Game of Thrones. And by watching, I mean I'm in like season 4 now. But I would say I've watched the last 4 seasons in the last month. So it's
awesome.
a big. So about a week and a half ago, for all those knowing this, I saw The Red Wedding.
Oh, yeah.
And
Ooh.
oh my fucking God. Like I'm sitting there in my apartment, like middle of the day, and I know we're towards the end of the season, but I know we're not the last episode. And when they just turn and they start shooting the arrows and start stabbing the womb, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
but she's a side character. So you're like, oh, this is dark, but she can die. And then when they pump the arrows into Rob, but then Rob stands up, and the mom takes the girl, and she's like, "I'll kill your wife, and just let us go, and we won't do it." And he's like, "Oh, he's gonna let him go. They're gonna say they're not gonna do anything. Later on, they're gonna come back. They're gonna do something because he's a side character." And he's like, "Why do I care about my wife?" And then they just gut Rob and then slit her throat, and the episode ends. And I'm like, did they just kill 2 main characters in like an instant? And like, I love it so much because of the appreciation of the truth that anyone can die at any moment, and you have to just cherish it almost more. And when they do that, and I know people have talked about it, it's like you watch the show so much more intently and so much more seriously because you respect somebody. It feels like somebody's earned the right to live or been cunning to live, and that just changed the game because you're like, oh, anybody's gonna die. Anybody can die.
Yeah.
And that, to me, is something films and TV shows never do, and they just don't have the strength to. So to see HBO do that has just been awesome to see in cinema history kind of thing. I think that'll open the door for some stuff.
Oh, I hope so. I don't know if you picked up on this, but once you figure out what that song, The Rains of Castamere, sounds like, and you realize when they played on the show and what kind of impact that's going to have, it's amazing.
So for future stuff, or
for the big one was the Red Wedding. So the moment the band changed the tune and they started playing,
she picked up on it.
The Lannisters song. She was like, "Oh fuck, we got double crossed."
Oh, is that the Lannisters? Oh,
yeah, that's like the song about how the Lannisters destroyed all their enemies in history.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
I
knew she picked up on the music.
Where
I didn't know
Cersei explains the song, and I forget what season, but.
Okay.
She's explaining it to Joffrey, maybe? I forget who it was.
I believe it's Joffrey.
It's definitely not.
Now I'm forgetting.
Definitely not past
right.
season 4.
Because Joffrey's dead.
And that was a satisfying
Oh,
sequence.
my
so
God.
good.
Yeah.
Okay, so we should get started on
do it.
today, right? Have I even mentioned what we're doing today? I don't think
Nope.
I have.
I wonder if they read it in the headline.
We're doing Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Yes. So
Dude,
good.
I mean, we're doing Ant-Man.
Oh.
Did you watch the right movie?
Ant-Man.
She did. She just got confused.
Yeah.
Hey, there's giant ants that
One.
kind of do
There's
things,
one.
and there's only one in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Yeah, there's
For
one.
the record, by the way, in that, how is a scorpion in a backyard?
Arizona.
Yeah, it's Arizona.
Was it? I thought it was California.
I don't know. It's the plot put it there.
Yeah. I just right now, this moment, I was like, wait a minute. What's a scorpion doing in that?
Yeah, you have that, and you also have the. Why are there only like 5 bugs in this entire backyard?
Right.
That's another great question, but whatever. Anyhow, so today we're actually doing Ant-Man. So today's movie, it came out last year, and everyone was rather nervous about it, I think, in Marvel's camp, because unlike Guardians of the Galaxy, this one actually was a risk, I thought. Because although Ant-Man is a very, very famous and old character, he's also kind of dorky. So the numbers today is it did not do as well as most Marvel properties, but it still obviously made a fuckload of money. I'm still surprised they were willing to spend $130 on it. That felt like
That
a
is
lot of
pretty
money.
big.
Yeah. But domestically made $180, which I think is the lowest out of all their movies, except for maybe the first Thor. I'd have to dig through this site, and I don't have time for that. But then worldwide, it made $519, which is explaining why we're getting Ant-Man and the Wasp, and why Ant-Man popped up in Civil War,
Right.
and why Marvel's still happy with this property.
How many of those millions do you think went to Michael Douglas?
I would guess a
How
lot.
much you think he back-ended it?
I'm sure he back-ended the shit out of it. It
Yeah.
wouldn't surprise me. And I also like that he said, "Yeah, I'll do another one. Just really bring down my part a lot. I don't want to do as much."
Well,
Yeah.
I liked what he said about it, which was, I never did one of these with all the green screens and stuff. I'll try one out. I've done everything else in my career.
Yeah. And the thing is, he was a great Hank Pym.
Oh, he was so
was.
good.
All right, Eric, are you ready for this 30-second breakdown?
I love how you make it like officially 30 seconds, and I got to get to the end by that.
Well, if you don't, then
I'm not going to
make-
have names.
That's fine. But if you
All right.
don't, I get to make fun of you. If
Okay.
you do, you get to make fun
We're
of
about
me.
13 seconds into it already.
I haven't even started the timer yet. All right, Eric, you ready?
Yeah.
Go, 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 go.
Okay, the story starts with this character, Scott, who's on a troubled, dark life. He gets saved by a guy named Hank. Hank has this past history of creating a formula that allows you to shrink. When you shrink, you amplify your strength, and was used for military things, but he hid it because the military was using it for bad reasons. They now give Scott the ability to use it, and Scott starts using it for good, and partly a way to redeem having his child back. All along the time, someone else is forming a formula, and they use that formula to try and create evil. Scott defeats the evil guy in the end, and And we live happily ever after, and Scott falls in love with Evangelina Lilly.
I almost want to say
bad.
you didn't get it because you had to stumble over the last name just to get into the time frame. But
He either
I'll,
fell in love with her or they had the classic speed thing where they just really wanted to make out at the end, but
they had a
they're
tense
not going to
situation.
have a great relationship.
yeah, I mean, I'll say you did it. I'll say good job. Okay, so let's get started, Ryan. Where do you want to start with this?
So I want to start with the hype. I want to start with the very first thing that they kind of came out with this, and that it was about Scotty Lang. And everybody who's been watching like these movies and Iron Man and stuff, I think they had announced Ultron by this point. And
Yes, they had.
in the comic books, if you read them, you know that Hank Pym is the one who tries to create AI and accidentally creates Ultron, who becomes self-intelligent and decides to destroy the world instead. So we were all like, oh yeah, obviously they're going to bring in Hank Pym real quick. He's going to make Ultron. This movie's going to be about him. And then they're like, nope, Scotty Lang. And nobody had any feelings about him, I think.
No, he wasn't really like he's not like a hated character. It's not like
Right.
one of those people that's like, oh, fuck, Scott Lang?
Yeah.
Really? It's just kind of one of those, him.
I know him as the guy who died to start the disassembled storyline that leads into House of M and all the other cool events.
Which it doesn't look like they're going to be able to do with this, which is fine. I mean,
No.
if Scott Lang is our Ant-Man in the MCU, I'm kind of okay with that.
And yeah,
And I really like Paul Rudd as it, but it was, I agree. It was one of those things when I heard they're doing Scott Lang, it was really like,
yeah.
I guess that
I
works.
mean, they're definitely never going to do House of M. So.
Well,
no, they can't. But I forget what else that led into. It's eventually Civil War, but
Yeah.
it was the kickoff of all the Marvel summer events. But
For those of you that don't read comics and you're as lost as me, I feel your pain.
House of M is when Scarlet Witch went no more mutants.
oh yeah, they love to bring that up a lot. And then at the end of the day, I loved so much what they did with it, because one of the things I've been missing about the Marvel Universe is like the first time you see Nick Fury show up, Samuel L. Jackson at the end of a movie, he's like, I think to Iron Man, he says, your world is about to get so much bigger. And then Iron Man becomes the center of that world, and he has to go on and find the other people. We're like, what world did he join? And then we're like, oh, Michael Douglas as Hank Pym has been Ant-Man, has been an Avenger, has been working for S.H.I.E.L.D. all this time and working with Howard Stark. So I like that they gave it like a deep-rooted history with that.
Yeah, I like that, and I really like that it was. It just kind of annoys me that we'll never get to see. I mean, really never get to see the Hank Pym Ant-Man stuff, because I mean, I always really liked Hank Pym as Ant-Man, because like I know you're a fan of this. I'm not sure around the table, but like the whole like unwilling hero thing is always like a really interesting plot, and I always really get that from Hank Pym, because I always feel like Hank Pym is that character who'd much rather be in a lab than out fighting crime. Which is why, I mean, I think this movie works really well to that, whereas like he's going to stay in his lab, and he got Scott Lang to go fight his crime for him.
I caught one line in the beginning of this that I really loved, and I never really picked up the deep meaning of it before. When he comes into the room and it's talking to Howard at the beginning, he says, I'm a scientist, and Howard goes, no, you're a soldier. And I was like, oh, I never really thought about that before. Like, they treated him as a super soldier, even though he was like kind of the first of the original Avengers or whatever.
Yeah. It's interesting, and I think they did a really good job with it. Let's move on to if we're going to talk about other things in hype. I kind of want to talk about the ad campaign. I know that's weird.
Yeah, so move into like once they started announcing information about this.
Eric, do you remember where you were at when you first heard of Ant-Man? Were you excited for it? Was it something you wanted to see?
I saw it, I think, on Deadline when I was reading up on it, and I was like, "What the fuck is this?" Like, I mean, not to get profane on that, but it was like, because again, like all right, so I don't read comics that much. I read a couple when I was younger, but like, so I didn't know anything about Ant-Man. I'm like, wait. Okay, he shrinks. Like, what? How is that going to be interesting? Like, why? That is like, there are so many people out there that I would rather be watching a comic of right now than this guy. I have no idea why this is necessary.
Right.
And I was like, they're just throwing money away now. They're just and the pictures didn't look as good of the suit and everything. Like,
the suit looked kind of cheesy. That first poster that came out, I thought it was funny, but it really didn't sell the movie. It just had like, it was a white, just sheer white poster with a very tiny thing in the middle and says Ant-Man size matters.
Oh, I really liked that poster.
I mean, it's clever, but it doesn't do. It's clever for people like us who read the comics,
Yeah.
but to sell somebody like Eric who doesn't read them at all, it just kind of looks cheesy, and I don't want to say stupid, but it's kind of borderline. It's like right there.
Paul Rudd is what sold it for me.
Oh, totally.
He's the reason why I went, because I've always loved his acting, and I respect him for what he does and how long he's been grinding at it.
And grind is a great word. He's been around for a long time, and I feel like he keeps just pushing.
It's so weird to me to remember him from Clueless. I always knew about Ant-Man.
Mm-hmm.
I never read any of his storylines or was really that familiar with his character. I didn't really realize that he was even Giant Man. Like, I didn't even think those were the same thing.
It's pronounced Giant Man.
Sorry. So yeah, I was still very like confused by like you have this entire lineup of characters, and this is the one you're going with right now. Then again, that was before I even knew how important Ant-Man actually was to the Marvel Universe, because I didn't realize he had so much impact on things.
Well, he was important as Hank Pym.
I also
Yeah.
like, again, for me, just being like the science side, I also have trouble with like the science behind it.
Oh,
I'm like,
Oh,
like,
just
no,
don't
like,
think about the
no,
science.
I can. Here's the thing: I can believe the shrunk down part. Like,
Right.
I'm down for like, oh, there's a formula that shrinks. I'm down with, oh, I get he still has the same energy. It's just packed in one place. What it's not is if that energy is still packed in one place, when he's hitting something, it shouldn't disperse. Like the fact that they show like him like punching somebody in the chin
you're
and
right.
it like makes him fly and amplifies it. Like no, it should just cut through his skin and kill the person.
You are right.
That was the part the whole time. I was like,
He said he makes him hit like a bullet, right? And then he hits like a cannonball instead.
Yeah.
I mean, to be
But
fair,
even- but again, even if he
she
hits
taught
like-
him how to punch. She's like,
But
you gotta
even
learn
if-
how to punch.
but even if you hit
Open-handed.
like a bullet or a cannonball, why are you not decapitating people every time you're hitting?
because
why
it's
are
a
you?
Marvel movie.
It's like
It would
They're
have
not-
got real dark.
Yeah, they're not going to bring all that blood into it.
Yeah.
But which is why I actually thought that they even did this character, because I feel like, I mean, all the Avengers movies and stuff were funny, but none of those particular characters by themselves were really funny.
Well, that's why
Like I
I
feel
thought
I feel like they brought in Ant-Man to
Yeah.
be the comedian.
that's exactly why they use Scott Lang, because like
Yeah,
Hank Pym like is like this really dark, depressed character, and he like gets drunk and abuses Jan, and like that you can't do that. Like they kind of tiptoed around it with Tony Stark, who's probably the most famous drunk in comic books, with his Iron Man 2 scene where he gets drunk at the party and like fights War Machine.
Yeah.
But yeah, they can't like go down the deep dark rabbit hole that Hank Pym did. So like Scotty Lang is like this great young guy. He fits more in line with Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man and Chris Hemsworth Thor than Hank Pym as a character ever could have.
But his character is just the way they wrote him in general. Like he'll be the comedian of the group. Like
Right.
he's
Yeah,
he's
and
levity
him and
all over the
Spider-Man.
place.
I mean, yeah, but just even based off the Civil War interactions, like that is what he is.
yeah.
Like the whole like, I believe you dropped this, Captain America. Like
Yep.
it's just like he's
Yeah.
totally right there. And it wasn't. I really. We'll talk about Paul Rudd now. We'll just move into it. I really like
Yeah.
Paul Rudd in this movie. I
I
thought he did a
enjoyed
great
him
job.
as well.
No,
Well,
I thought he did a great job. I thought he was a lot of fun. I really liked the way he fit into the movie.
I think one of the things too about, I mean, it's going into other stuff kind of, but it still plays with it. Is to me what was surprising to me about Ant-Man, about all of them. I think it was the best writing of all the movies.
Like dialogue wise,
Yeah, like dialogue.
Well,
was-
here's
Yeah.
the
I
thing
was
is,
just like,
again with Paul Rudd. Not to interrupt, but Paul Rudd helped write it, so he knows.
Oh,
what,
did he?
Yeah, so he knows what works for him, comedic timing, and that sort of stuff. So
Because that was the thing. Is like I'm watching this, I'm like, where is this writer? All these other movies. Why are you not paying them to be in it? I don't get how you pay $130 million for a movie. I mean, this one they did pay for it, but it's like, and a producer can't be like, oh wait, that writing's shit.
yeah.
yeah,
Like I don't get how that's like. I don't get who's the best writer in the world. Like you have to have the budget for that.
Writers really are like the most bottom of the totem pole, unsung heroes of Hollywood, and they don't get enough recognition for it.
And they will destroy a movie, or
Yeah.
even a bad actor can sometimes be okay because the writing makes it work.
yeah.
Well, I mean, again, singing Paul Rudd praises. I mean, it's one of those things where like he knows what works for him comedic wise. He's been doing comedy for years now. He knows like his timing. He knows what like lines he can pull off. And then the other writer on this thing, I'm not. We can mention Edgar Wright if we want to, but I don't know how much of this movie is even his at this point, and I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing or whatever. But I love Edgar Wright and I love Joe Cornish. I mean, Attack the Block is one of my favorite movies of all time. But that's fine. But when you have Paul Rudd and then Adam McKay, then suddenly you're getting people who know comedy, have written together and worked together, and suddenly it's going to be a lot funnier and a lot more engaging, and that's what they got.
And they stacked this movie, except for Hank Pym and Kate, I can't remember, Evangeline Lilly. Like, pretty much all of them were comedic actors.
Mm-hmm.
The villain guy, I don't remember his actor's name, but again,
Yeah, but he
like,
was on House of Cards.
Yeah, Corey Stoll.
yeah, the rest of them have worked as comedians, so they all brought their A game to this movie.
Oh yeah, and I think that's kind of what I liked so much about it. Again, kind of with Paul Rudd, kind of with everybody. Is it just felt like it didn't feel to me like. And don't get me wrong, I love Guardians. We did an entire episode on how much I loved it, but that one felt like it had something to prove. And this one, I feel like should have had that going for it, and it didn't. It just it didn't feel it needed to prove anything to us. It just went to be the movie it was supposed to be, and then it worked out.
Well, it like unlike Guardians of the Galaxy, it kind of benefited from only having to introduce one character, and that, like, talking about the writing again, that let it be a super tight, badass Hollywood movie. Like, you had the perfect things. You got the introduction to the world, to Hank Pym. Then you met Scott Lang in jail, and then he got out of jail, and then he like got this offer to get back in, and he walked away. He said no. And then we see a little character development, and he gets sucked back into the adventure, you know, and it was like perfect. And then you had the right amount of training montages, the right amount of scenes where you see him with the ant, and then like the sweet double cross at the end. It's great writing.
Yeah, I mean, it really, and I know I had dinner with Erik earlier this week, and we kind of talked a little bit about this, and I brought up the one thing that a lot of people have been complaining about. We'll move on to that now, and we'll see if people agree, disagree, whatnot. It's basically the same plot as Iron Man, give or take. I mean, a lot of the character beats are the exact same, all the way through like the villain at the very end, third act, just pulling out the same suit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The big difference would be that in Iron Man,
he shrinks.
You know, that, but Iron Man's very much a willing hero.
Oh yeah, he can't wait.
Yeah, he can't wait to put on that
Yeah,
suit.
and in Ant-Man, he's a reluctant criminal, then he's a reluctant hero. The only thing he's not reluctant about is being a dad.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and that's
but
his motivation.
Yeah, and I think they hide that motivation. Not hide it, but they put it in the movie where it doesn't feel forced.
Yeah.
Like by having Iron Man willing to throw in the suit, it eliminates really any and all motivation. Whereas this one, like, he's like, I don't want to do this, but if I don't get my daughter, so I'll do it.
But I do like in Iron Man his risk of dying, like towards the end of that. It's like that's one thing that isn't quite in this.
I mean, he shrinks to the atomic level. He basically acknowledges the fact that he's going to kill himself to save his daughter.
Yeah.
Never mind. Take that back. It's exactly like Iron Man.
Did you, Erik? Did you have a problem with the villain? I feel like Marvel has a real a real problem of needing to put. I'm sorry, comics in general of like needing to match superpower levels and like.
It's just when you get into the kind of the Marvel universe or just comics in general is you flirt that line with you're playing the idea of a villain or you're playing an actual person that wants to cause harm, and I think you have trouble in a film making people believe they actually would cause harm. Like, and that was the thing with him. Like, he wants to be he's power hungry, and it's like, but his actual ruthlessness I don't really get. Like going a little bit in like Apocalypse, like. Not even Apocalypse, but like Michael Fassbender's character, like as Magneto, like you see some of that in the new one that just came out, like the real darkness. Where you're like, oh fuck, like this guy will hurt people. Yeah, and I think that's a problem with like Loki. I'm not afraid of him.
Right.
You know, I'm not being worried about that. I was a little worried about the I can't remember the actor who plays him in Iron Man 1, but.
Bridges, wasn't it?
Yeah, Jeff Bridges.
Obadiah Stane is the character.
Yeah. But I was saying, like I just there's not an intimidation there, and I think that's, and I don't mean to go always quoting back to like Dark Knight or something, but like the Joker's just scary.
I know.
Like I'm truly intimidated by him.
He's got chaos,
and I think that's the thing is with this one, it's like. It feels like he got into the idea of being a caricature of a bad guy, and that's where it bombs.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you. Like the problem with this one, and the problem I think a lot with the Marvel movies in general is I agree I'm not afraid of Loki, but they've written Loki so well that I still enjoy him as a character. Whereas I think,
but like the Frost Giant, I'm way more afraid of the Frost Giant.
Yes, I agree. But the only villain that I feel like they've actually knocked out of the park beyond Loki. I mean, Loki as the character is very well written. I'm not going to say anything bad about him. But Zemo is really the only like villain who actually just kind of had a villain plan and was not there to try to beat up Captain America or Iron Man, and he did a really good job. Whereas this guy,
wait, who?
Civil War. I won't say anything else because I want to spoil Civil War for Erik. But this guy, it's just one of those things where it's like, did he need to be another Ant-Man? Did we need that in this movie? I mean, it worked. No. I was entertained by it.
And I never really
that
cared
wasn't
about
a thing
him.
from the comics.
Yeah.
Like in the comics, Yellow Jacket was just another Hank Pym identity.
Yeah.
But I don't know who Ant-Man's villains are. They're the Avengers villains. Like he just joins the Avengers and fights them. Yeah.
Which is one of those. I think this would have been a better told story if it was just like, oh, so Corey Stoll's character, I'm forgetting his name now, and it's nothing against Corey Stoll because he's a fantastic actor.
Darren Cross.
He proved
Darren,
that in House of Cards. He can be really dark.
Yeah, and he's a great, unbelievably talented actor, and that's why I was really excited to see him in this movie. But I think this would have been one of those things where it would have been a better story if it had been like, no, I've created my Yellow Jacket army, and then Ant-Man has to shrink down and stop like a drone army as opposed to just one guy. I think that would have been a more, because the mano-a-mano thing, it just didn't really work because there was no stakes.
No. The problem is the drone army was already happening for Age of Ultron, and that would have been...
Well, no, you're right. You're right.
I think they need to, like, when you do a villain, I think if you can show in the beginning some kind of, like, just... You have to show how far they're willing to go, and just even an inkling of it. Like, it gives you that whole time of unsuspecting versus when you show this guy, like, oh, he's going to become the bad guy. I don't really get it.
Well, Marvel movies, they all do that. But they all do the same thing, where
But
whoever the villain is going to kill one nameless person.
But I'm saying in the beginning, you don't see the villain as this really evil aggression.
Well, you do, because he kills that one guy in the bathroom with the shrinking gun.
This is my favorite. I'm going to bring that up right
that's
now.
What's so funny is I totally forgot that.
Yeah, because
this is my favorite part. They have him in the bathroom, and he kills the guy with the shrinking splooge gun in like the first 20 minutes, right? And then in the middle of the movie, they escalate his villainy by having him kill a sheep.
Yeah, it's
like he kills the person first, and
how
then
dare you?
Then he kills the animal to show he's really mean.
Well, as you know, collectively on the internet, we definitely care about animals more than we care about people.
That's true.
They just proved that in this movie. Anyway, move on about his bad villainy.
But it's one of those things where, like, I don't blame Corey Stoll. I don't even blame the writers. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, this is the last movie to come out with the Marvel quote-unquote brain trust attached.
Yeah.
After this movie, I think, is when they're all let go, which is, I mean...
But, sorry, I had to jump on real quick. Like, I'm just thinking back to it. It's like, why is it the Frost Giant, the side character, they can write that? The Cyclops in the same movie Thor that comes into the town. Yeah. Like, there's intimidation there. There's worry there. Right. But the main character, you don't have that.
This is a really classic, like, ugly movie trope that I hate. And we just watched TMNT 2 last week, and I brought it up again. Like, there's always a mastermind, and then there's an uncontrollable beast that he is let loose, or like the Lex Luthor Doomsday problem. And that's what we're getting. We're afraid of, like, these chaotic beasts who we don't know if they're going to destroy things, because the villains are always, like, sane humans, and we just trust that they're not going to, like, murder everybody, which is, I'm hoping to dear God that they fix that with Thanos. If Thanos doesn't off the bat wipe out half of existence, he's not an interesting villain in the movies.
That's the problem with Marvel right now.
Yeah.
It will be interesting to see what they go for.
Yeah.
I want to move into something a little bit different than what we've been talking about. I want to talk the side characters a little bit, but I want to save this for a moment. I want to talk about the special effects in this movie.
Okay, so I loved that they brought back the shrinking movie. Like, I was unsure about the posters, but when I saw they're doing a tiny movie, I'm like, holy shit, this is going to be great, because Honey, I Shrunk the Kids was one of my favorites.
It's a fantastic movie. The first one, the other two are not the best, but that's fine.
Honey, I blew up the kid.
Honey, we shrunk ourselves. There's no more. But the thing that I really liked in this movie was, and this is going to sound really cheesy, I don't mean it to, but by using the shrinking, they made a smaller movie where it was not. I know it's lame, but it's true.
Oh my God, I'm
true.
the comedian,
Zing.
not you. Stop.
No, but it's true. They didn't make an end of the world movie,
right?
Which is what all these Marvel movies are. It's all about the end of the world. This one was a very personal story.
It was a heist film.
It was, and I think by making
it was never just a heist.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, by making it a smaller movie and making it more of an intimate battle, you get to have way more fun with the character. And although they spoiled it in every fucking trailer, which was really annoying, that whole last action sequence on the train will go down, I think, in my opinion, as one of the best action sequences in all of Marvel.
It might be my most, next to Twister, my most favorite product placement ever. Specifically for Thomas the
What,
Train.
you didn't like it?
No, I did not like the fight at the end.
No.
Really? Why didn't you like it?
Because, okay, I mean, first, they're jumping in and out of, like, states and everything like that. And one, like, okay, he knows he's so strong, but he gets afraid of the train coming at him for 2 seconds, like, ah, and then just knocks over. He's like,
funny.
oh.
Yeah, but I mean, to be fair,
but when you're
jumping, if you're going big, small, I mean, it would be a little disorienting.
It might, but it's hard for me to grasp into that. And when you do something comical like that in the middle of an end fight scene, you take me out of the fear and the worry and the intimidation. Like I immediately start like, oh, that's cute. I don't want to be cute at that moment. I need to be worried that it's not going to happen. And so when you just jump in and out of it, you just kind of ruin the flow versus the constant struggle that goes on.
Yeah, to me, like the real worry moment was when they're in the helicopter. Like that was the terrifying fight scene.
Yeah.
Except when they started the Cure song.
Oh, I mean, yeah, the whole movie was full of like, just like violence de-escalation.
I don't think this movie ever intended to be anything more than that. Like
I didn't hate it. Yeah,
I think it was meant
never
to
bothered
be the fun, charming one.
Yeah, and I thought they did a good job with that. I mean, I agree. I totally understand what Eric's saying. Like, I get the whole, like, when you're taken out of that action sequence, I get that can be annoying. But I think for me, personally, going into Ant-Man, I wasn't ever expecting to get just the really dark, tough action sequences. I kind of went in expecting and kind of hoping to laugh at the action.
I mean, because we haven't had a movie that's kind of like that where they're trying to imply a little more humor into it throughout. I mean, the giant ant coming outside at the end, too. Like, it's funny.
I forgot. Did this come out before or after Guardians?
Way after.
Way after Guardians.
Okay.
Like a year after.
And so I mean, when you look at it in that context, it makes itself a really good movie. But again, if I'm going in with a different idea,
right,
it's going to be hard to post it now. I'm like, oh, wow, when you kind of think of it like that, like, oh, the movie really clicked even more. But that shouldn't be the thoughts through it. You have to establish that a little differently in the beginning than what they did.
I feel like, I don't know, personally, I think they did. I think it kind of nailed the tone pretty early on. I think it kind of stuck to the same tone. I thought. That was like my problem. I say, like, we keep comparing it to Guardians, where Guardians I don't think did nail that tone. So at the end of the movie, when they have the dance off, it comes so out of left field, where it's still funny, but it didn't match what was going on in that sequence.
That's so funny because I thought that was genius.
Really?
In the level of getting taken out of a serious moment and then getting frustrated, like the dance. I mean, however much I do enjoy the dance sequence, that movie never. I was frustrated by the lack of good villainy in Guardians more than I was in this film.
You talked about this at dinner the other night about Ronan, but like when that dance part happened, like that was his attempt to not fight. It wasn't like, to me, like the train thing was a bit that they put in the movie. The ant going outside was kind of a bit. That was him using humor to make the guy, to disarm him. Mm-hmm. And so there was an intention in the character for it to happen versus it was placed in the storyline.
I gotcha.
No,
I could see that.
Fair.
But then again, coming from my comic background, I'm used to Star-Lord being willing and able to fight. Like, he's a fighter. He takes on Thanos like 101. He's not.
But I think that oh God, I can't say his name right now.
Chris Pratt?
Yeah, Chris Pratt. I think he was willing to fight. I think he knew that was the best approach at the moment because he's facing huge odds. Because he doesn't hesitate throughout the whole movie to fight.
No, you're right. You're right.
He's not the same thing as like, and even Scott's not so like, should I do this? Should I not? Like he's still pretty much on board once he hops into it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I feel like it's the willingness of the character. I mean, that's just my take on when I feel like people are putting them in to be bits to be funny, and that's where it's like,
I gotcha.
The audiences are getting smarter.
Bit,
yeah,
but it's whether or not you liked the bit.
Yeah,
really.
I like the bits, but it's just we're going in the sense of like a real storyline. Like if I told this 100 years from now, I told this story, could somebody actually believe that this really happened in the world or not? Like, are they going to get taken out by it? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
No.
Because
so if I'm already out in believing this could really happen in the world in the first minute.
No.
Yeah, I think it's at this point, it's just whether or not you buy into the MCU or not. And I think like if you buy into it, like this is the kind of thing that I want in the MCU.
Well, no,
I kind of want that levity.
I do know what you mean. Like, but I think, Eric, maybe one of the problems you're having is that you're not coming from a comic background, and I guess I've been reading a lot of that where the characters are like not exactly realistic because of the medium, and like that. I think they tried to translate that to screen, whether it worked or not.
Okay.
That's always the biggest challenge with all these films. It's a continual problem. However popular these movies are at the moment, they will always have the problem of who's appreciating this in what way. Like comic fans will always appreciate it in a different way than non-comic fans.
Right.
And just trying to the balance they've achieved is amazing, but it'll never be a perfect one.
Can I ask you just a personal question? Do you ever see these movies and all compelled to go out and buy a comic book and read a comic book over it?
No, I'm very compelled to go onto Wikipedia and read on the character, which I almost do every single time.
That's actually the same as our friend and guest of the show, Rich Roy. He's my roommate for a while, and we will always like talk about whatever it be, whether it's comics for him or Walking Dead or Game of Thrones books. He always likes to look up on the Wikipedia and see how it played out in that, but never actually read the source material, which I find interesting.
Yeah, I like
the source material can be intimidating. There's a lot of content.
like so for like this. I mean, I read up on like, oh wait, Ant-Man. Who's Ant-Man? Like, how have I never heard of him?
Right.
And I read up on Hank Pym. So like, I didn't even know that Scott was another option.
Right.
Like, so when they did that, it's like, oh, they're just adding another character. Okay, I get kind of how it works out. But again, like literally at this table right now, I've realized like, oh, Scott's a character in the universe. Like, I just thought they wrote him into that storyline.
Oh, okay.
Like, I don't have that kind of knowledge, and that's
It's like realizing there's been like 4 different Robins. Like,
Yeah.
there's-
Way more than 4.
yeah.
I'm just
but so
listening.
not really knowing that. So yeah, there's a lot more. Like, I really like to know that backstory because also when I go into it, then I get a little more. But it's not. I mean, the backstory I have is a very cookie cutter, like clean version of stuff, and just try to get some idea of it. And same thing with like Thanos and like who is that guy? What does he do? Oh, the Infinity Gauntlet. Oh, that's what the stones are for. Like
Yeah.
that
And
kind of stuff.
that's why Chewie was very
But yeah,
mad about
I've never really had that pull. But I think in that because that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Like that. I mean,
Well, it
I'm not
is.
being
No,
funny,
it
but
definitely
it's like I've just never been like I've never watched them like, oh my god, I'm so in love with this now.
Yeah.
Like
I wanted to bring up one more thing about it, and that is that, you're kind of talking about, so you saw the movie and being interested in going back in time and like seeing where Scott Lang came from and like the issue where he originally stole the Ant-Man suit and whatever. But Marvel Comics has been trying to do something really interesting lately where they write their comics to look and feel more like the movie characters. And this has happened in a big way with Star-Lord, where they actually draw him with that red trench coat and like to look a lot more like Chris Pratt than they used to. And the same happened with Ant-Man, where the only current Ant-Man issue series is with Scott Lang, and it's like he talks and acts and feels like he does in the movies. And it's like, I don't know if that's working for them or not, but it's something they're trying to do where no matter what point of the Marvel Universe you jump in, whether it be animated, video games, movies, comic books, like the characters kind of feel the same.
as the actor or as the comic book.
They're trying to match the MCU to the comic series right now.
Oh,
so
okay,
that
gotcha.
if you did like, oh, I loved Ant-Man, I
gotcha.
should go pick up the latest Ant-Man comic. It'll feel like the movie that you just
And
saw.
he'll be drawn
I
and look
play
a lot
Champions
more.
of the universe or whatever.
Yeah, like kind of the same, right? They use the character design from the movies, and like
Right.
if you open up the current run of Ant-Man, they will draw him a lot more similarly to Paul Rudd than they have in the past. Actually, same with Punisher. The current Punisher run, he almost looks like John Bernthal more than he ever has in the comic book in the past.
Fun little fact about that whole little Champions Guard. What is the game?
Contest of Champions.
Contest
right?
of Champions.
Yeah.
Yes. Vision is the best character to play in that game.
Shocker.
Little known fact
are you-
about the Marvel Universe.
No,
he
because-
is one of the most powerful heroes.
But here's the reason why is because he has on his second like 3 levels. His second level is a power drain, and as you play and you win more matches, you play higher and higher people and like better ratings, so like you're more likely to lose. I'm amazing at dodging and missing hits, and so I have this combination that I use to get them. But what I can't stop is them growing in their power. So I'll eventually like fight somebody that's like 3 times my rating, and they'll get to their red bar and then just use it, and I lose because you can't block a superpower, and so I power drain it. I know it's a long story into it, but
No, you
for
got
those of you
that-
out there playing it, like
you got that strong debuff character going. There.
yeah,
I like
and-
that.
but it's the first time I've used a character for a defensive move
Yeah.
to be proactive. I'm always like high power offense, and that's the only way I win though.
And you'll win against all the nerds who are just like smash, power.
Yeah.
That would be me.
All right, I want to finish this thing off with the side characters.
Yes.
Because as much as I love Paul Rudd in this movie, and I really, really do, I think the movie's kind of stolen from him by both his side gang, and then I'm really, really excited to see Wasp, and I think they set her up really, really well.
So
oh,
before
that power
you-
bob. Can we talk about the power bob?
Before you jump into those major side characters, I just want to say how much I loved Bobby Cannavale, and was it
Yep.
Judy Greer that played Cassie's mom?
Yep.
And the little girl was amazing.
The little girl was like the best cast they've
If-
had in a
a
while.
little
She
Easter
was
egg if you
great.
don't
Such
know.
a bubbly joy.
in the comics,
He's so ugly.
Cassie Lang eventually puts on the Ant-Man costume and becomes Stature, which is cool. They'll never do that in the cinematic
No.
universe, but it's a fun thing. They did great, and on to...
Yeah. I want to start with I'm going to butcher her name because I always do. Evangelion Lily. Yep, there it is. But I really liked her in this movie. I thought she did a good job. I thought she was a really fun character.
She's super relatable. Like there's multiple
Yeah,
characters in this film that have parental problems.
Yeah.
Hank Pym, like she's his only legitimate child. And she's having almost the same angst as the main villain does about, hey, you were really important to me. You were a father figure / my father. Why do you keep giving this stuff to this random dude?
Right.
And
Yeah.
And her character development of actually dealing with that and still being on her father's side while getting to beat Steven up was great.
Steven.
Steve. Or
Scott?
Scott.
Yes.
Scott. Sorry.
Well, they had that great moment
Gosh, watch the
where he
movie.
explains it to her, where it's like, "Oh, your dad doesn't find you expendable. I'm in this suit because I can die."
Yeah.
That was great.
There's,
and it's-
yeah,
but
but
it's
there's
great, but
still
it's one
the
of those
feeling of my dad doesn't trust me to not die.
Well, it's more that the movie begins with them having that falling out, which it seems like is 100% about him lying to her about her mom. Is that the case?
Yeah.
It's not 100%, but it's definitely.
It was
I would say
100%. He said she
80%.
died in like a car crash.
Yeah,
And that he never told her that she was a wasp. It's
Right.
like
That's
110%.
really stupid. Like that. Him never telling her that, I guess, is him trying to protect her to make sure she doesn't want to follow in her mother's footsteps.
Yeah.
It's still stupid.
I just kind of wish she didn't have the Rhodey syndrome of
yeah.
like Rhodey sees the War Machine suit. Next time.
Right.
And she totally had the
You mean
exact.
at the-
I
at the
would
very
have
end.
loved for her
Yeah.
to be like, "It's about time, Dad."
Yeah,
well, she does. Doesn't she say it's about time?
Oh, she just
She
say
does,
it's
yeah.
about. But
Yeah,
I want the
but
dad.
I think
at
that's the
end.
difference with Rhodey. I can't say.
Yeah.
Everything. Yeah, he wasn't asking for a suit for a while. Like he got one later.
Yeah, no, and
Like
she
in the
wanted
first
to be,
installment.
Yeah. No, you're
she
right.
wanted to do it from the start.
Yeah, but it's one of those
She
things
actually thought she was better than Scott.
which honestly
trained
she
Scott.
probably is.
Yeah.
She already
Yeah.
knew how to do everything.
Yeah, so it's one of those things where it's like I like that, and I really am excited to see her in that movie and to see her do that. And I'm really glad they didn't burn it in Civil War because I know they were debating on doing that. It was either going to be that or a different thing, and they went with the other thing. Still not spoiling things.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
But yeah, I'm really excited to see what she does in the MCU. I think she was a great cast, and I think she'll be a really good fit when they eventually get to the Avengers. If she's in it, I think she'll fit in really well with that.
Yeah.
I think
That bigger
she
cast.
I think she plays like you have that mixed market of like you're trying to create a sexy character for the male audience, but you're also trying to find a really confident character that's not slutty, that
Right.
has strength.
Oh,
and,
that's
and
why she got a
pain to
power
her.
bob.
What?
Yeah, that
The
power,
power
bob.
bob.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, what?
The haircut.
Her haircut.
Oh yeah,
The power bob.
Okay, I was like,
Like,
is
I'm
there
a
a guy
super
named
serious
Power Bob
lady.
that I
The
missed?
minion. Didn't you see the minion
yeah,
in
the
there?
minion in there.
Banana.
No, yeah, and that like I the whole time her character is really strong, and just I really appreciated. I like where they're going in the films of stronger female characters in a justified way, like in a way like again. I mean, I know you guys did Force Awakens, but like just jumping on that too, it's like that was the first time watching that movie, watching a female character, and I'm not trying to be harsh. I mean, there's probably some in the past where I could see guys growing up and be like, "Oh, I want to be like her."
Yeah.
Because of their demeanor and their characteristics that anyone can be. It just happens to normally be in guys, but they're able to put that in a girl now. And I think this character in this film as well was
Yeah.
closer to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And honestly, I mean, I know I'll probably get a lot of flack for this, but I think she was a better first attempt of like a female role model character than I think Marvel has done yet.
Yeah,
Because like
'cause
Black
she-
Widow was fine in the first
Black
Iron
Widow
Man.
was
I
she
like
was-
Scarlett Johansson's Black
The
Widow.
introduction.
I do, but not
the
in Iron Man 2.
introduction to,
Iron Man
yeah.
2, she was just bloof. And
She
then
was
she's
the
gotten better as the
sexy
movie's gone on.
assistant.
Yeah.
Like that was our introduction to Black Widow. Was her
Yeah.
boobs.
Yeah. And then now by now she's great, but in the beginning, But no, then by the time that we got like to say even the Avengers, she's suddenly a much better character.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas this one, I think right out the gate they nailed her, and
Yeah.
and I'm really excited to see her in everything else she does in the
I think
MCU.
she's going to be fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
I think she's not going to get much time at all, unfortunately.
Well,
in
the
Ant-Man
next
and the
movie's
Wasp,
even
she
called
will.
Ant-Man and the Wasp.
But in the Avengers lineup, yeah.
well, I
of
mean,
course
the
not
Avengers
the
movie. I mean, the Russo brothers are saying they want 70 superheroes in it.
Yeah, but you saw how much time even he got in Civil War.
Yeah,
and
you're right.
That was like what,
By
12
70
heroes?
superheroes,
So-
they're going to do
So, can-
what they did in Green
just bring up
Lantern,
one-
where they're just kind of standing there.
comment on all that, and this is my worry because we talked a little bit about the getting burned out. Like when you their escalation,
Yeah.
what they're trying to do with again 70 superheroes or whatever, you're diminishing the value of even one. And here's the question is, when will superhero movies fall? Like, when is that going to stop?
I mean,
'Cause that's
any and all movie genres pop at some point.
right.
It
and
happens to the best of them.
But I feel like this route is escalating that to happen sooner, because you're going to start to really struggle to just handle all that's going on.
Which is why I think movies like, say, this one and particularly Winter Soldier are very important. Because most of these movies are, and then I'll get back into the side characters, most of these movies are kind of carbon copy superhero films. Whereas the Winter Soldier and this one is a heist movie, and Winter Soldier was like a 70s spy movie. So it's the best way to approach this ever-growing bubble of comic book movies by doing different film genres just told from a comic book point of view.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. And I think that's what I agree with you. That's kind of where they need to play on it.
If they don't do that, I agree. This bubble's going to pop real quick. And I think that's why people were not overly enthralled with Age of Ultron, because that one was just such a very carbon copy comic book movie.
Right. I mean, James Spader's voice was great for it.
Absolutely.
They had I really like the people who do the trailers sometimes. Those people, I almost want them to be the director or the writer or something like that, because again, like, okay, Man of Steel, like, I did enjoy the movie quite a bit, but in comparison to what I thought based on that trailer, I mean, the trailer came out and I was just like, this is going to be the best fucking movie of all time.
Yeah,
like, it's going to be insane, and it did not match up to that trailer.
Not even close. No.
It's
but
easy to create an emotion in 30 seconds, hard to keep it going for 2 hours.
it's fair.
I think any and all trailer editors would smack you for saying it's easy to create an emotion in 30 seconds.
But whatever. It's true, though. You can create that in 30 seconds and you can get it going, but do that for 2 hours?
No, I agree with you. I'm just saying that, like, people are like, that's my entire livelihood, and you just said it's easy.
I mean, I see what you're saying on that, especially when you have a music track playing kind of in the background the whole
absolutely.
time.
Yeah.
But even that moment they're creating, I should be able to get that moment at least once in the movie, and I never felt that in Man of Steel.
That's actually
Civil War
kind of
pulled
how
that
I
off really
felt
well.
with
I agree.
the new TMNT. I didn't get
I disagree.
I know you disagree. I didn't get the joy that I got from that one trailer.
I got so much
None
joy
of
out
that
of
music
it.
was in the movie.
I'm fine with that. Anyhow, so the other side character that I feel like we need to mention beyond just like the normal crew, which, I mean, big props to, I'm forgetting, is an actual friend of ours, or friend of yours, I should
He's
say.
kind of like I'm not super good friends with him. He's more of a acquaintance, but David Dasmalchian,
Yes.
who plays, is he Russian?
Yeah, he played Kurt.
I remember him from Chicago.
Yeah,
he is in a lot. He was in The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
He was
An
in
amazing guy, and I feel like he's fantastic in everything I see him in, and I hope to see him more and more. Speaking of, like, the power hair with the power bob, the power pompadour they gave him.
Oh,
in this
Yeah,
film.
looked good. But then the obvious side character we got to talk about is Michael Pena.
Oh, he's
Michael
so good.
Pena.
He's been fantastic since the day he hit the scene. Like, I love it whenever he pops up in
Why
things.
he's not just a leading man in Hollywood is a crime.
I've seen him do a lot of stuff. If you ever go back and watch End of Watch, which we did a whole episode on a long time ago with when Nick was still hosting, it was just a really, really great movie, and it was mostly because of him and Jake Gyllenhaal's chemistry. And it's really great to seeing him work with other people and seeing him kind of be funny and that sort of thing. But he's always been a funny person in not funny roles, or a funny person in not funny movies. He's there to kind of bring levity. And the thing that I liked about this one was it felt like somebody was really just kind of going, you're hysterical, come be funny in this as a full character. Because if you look at his IMDb, he's been funny in other movies, but this one...
If you want to get full funny him, check out the two episodes maybe that he did in My Name is Earl, where he plays a drug dealer.
Oh, yeah. No, he can be hysterical, but this... I like that they finally gave him a movie where he was a main character, or like the head side character, if you will, where he was just like, not just the comic relief, where he's obviously the comic relief, but he felt like he was more than that. And I thought he took the role
genuinely
and ran
helped
with it.
them.
Yeah, absolutely.
He got things done. That crew did. Like, he would have died through those laser things if they weren't dedicated to the cause.
Right. And like speaking to what Eric was saying earlier, I feel like all of his comedic moments were actually believable as his character. Like, they weren't just bits. Like, I totally buy that he rambles on about stories, and he's excited to come up with his backstory, his undercover security guard who whistles. You know, like, that's all great.
Yeah, and that to me, it's the same thing as like going to a stand-up show and hearing like a fuck joke. It's just like, it's not really a joke. You're doing something that's a bit. It's just it's not. There's no thought in it. There's no intelligent connection of how it worked. And yeah, I think he does exceptional in that. And that's not Chewie, not going down the stuff earlier about like the laugh, but like that's the stuff with the laughter. You can put that stuff in any point in a film. It can be even at the end, but it makes sense. So it still goes with the intensity, kind of like I said, like with the dance off. Like, I was laughing hysterically during that, but in the back of my mind, I'm like, this could go really bad. Like Ronan is about to just get really angry at this. Not like
Ronan could have just
what
zapped
is he
him.
dancing for?
Right. That was so out of character.
The dude has a cassette tape and he carries it around like.
Oh, he's in character. Ronan being
Ronan.
I'm distracted.
I wish Ronan would have been a better villain.
Off
thing.
Yeah, off the track here. Off the rails.
Sorry, yep.
Stay on target.
Thank you for that compliment too.
Stay on target.
Quotes,
Star
quotes,
Wars?
quotes.
We're just quoting.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, my quote, of course, is coming from Michael Pena. Hey, you want a waffle?
Mine. Mine is very simple. It comes in the beginning of the movie, a moment that we did not mention, but for me, it was the moment that sold me. I'm like, nope, I'm in for this ride. Like, I'm totally gonna enjoy it. And that is Baskin Robbins always finds out.
You bastard!
That's a good quote. Yep.
Damn it!
I'm sorry. It's clearly like that is the moment in the movie where it's just like, and it's even like it's repeated twice, and both times it's fantastic. Like the first time it's like, oh, you found out. Yeah. Baskin Robbins always finds out. And then later, like, oh, they found out who you are. Yeah. Baskin Robbins always finds out.
It's like his bros know. Baskin Robbins always find out.
And I'm sorry, just for the costume department, I just love the tie he's wearing in that scene.
Yeah.
The Baskin Robbins tie.
Oh yeah.
It just fits.
That entire sequence, I'm almost sad we didn't bring it up. It's just so good. The whole like, oh yeah, it's a cool crime. It's a sexy crime. Oh, I'm so glad you feel that way because I was afraid I'd be fired. Oh, you're definitely fired.
Yeah. The whole scene was great.
I'll steal then the next one. Your fiance is an asshat. That's Paul Rudd writing that line for
the
sure
bumbling cops in the film.
No, that whole interchange is like, hey, watch your mouth. What? I said hat.
Yeah.
My favorite quote is actually at the end of the movie. Spoiler alert. Paul Rudd and Evangeline Lilly kiss at the end, and Michael Douglas as Hank Pym kind of busts them, right? And Paul Rudd goes on this tirade about like, oh, you shouldn't have kissed me. How dare you initiate that? And he's walking down the stairs and running away quickly. And Michael Douglas goes, hey, Scott, yeah? You know you're full of shit, right? Oh, yeah.
Wait, none of you picked the other Hank Pym quote? I want you to break into a place and steal some shit.
Oh, yeah.
I would have, but that was in every trailer.
Yep.
Yeah.
I try not to pick trailer quotes.
But it's funny.
It is.
It's a good line.
It's a very good line. And I'm so glad they got rid of the, can we change the name?
Was that not in the movie anymore?
Nope, they got rid of it.
That's good.
That was and then we never mentioned the Anthony Mackie scene, which I thought somebody's going to take that quote of the.
Oh, yeah.
Hi, I'm Scott. Did he just say hi, I'm Scott?
Yeah. And then my favorite at the end of that was, guys, I never want Cap to find out about this.
It's very important to me that Cap never finds out about this.
Yeah.
I like the okay. This is one too. Also, like, well, I guess they all were really realism, but with Michael Douglas and then the other guy, the competitor, he's like, "How's retirement? How's your face?"
Yeah, that was great.
That was a great Michael Douglas moment of just like his like the grittiness in his voice and just like his like very Wall Street like moment of just like greed is good, like,
and it's such a great moment of I remember smashing your face.
Yeah,
I haven't forgotten. I'll do it again.
So if you guys, anybody's watching on the DVD, I want to put on the bonus features last night, and there's a deleted scene where Paul Rudd pretends to be a cable man, and they like they just unscrew Hank Pym's cable, and he like knocks on the door. I'm here to fix your cable. And Hank Pym, already very well knowing who Scott Lang is, like opens the door and pretends to be a senile old man, and it's so good.
I'll have to check that out. I have the Blu-ray, so I'm sure we have it.
Oh yeah, it's on there.
All right, so the review system for today. This one is going to be difficult. I'm not going to lie. Movies that you did not expect to be funny.
I'm going to say this one first, but it's not going to count, and I'm going to take time to think it back, but I'll give you guys time. Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. I hate to quote back from the movie I
You
saw.
can totally use that if you want to.
Because I did not expect that movie to be good,
and
I did not expect that movie to be funny. And if you watch the episode that I was on about this,
watch it. You can listen to it.
It messed both of them. It was amazing.
Yeah.
But I'll think of something different.
No, I'm going to encourage you to keep that one because that's a very good answer, and it's a callback, which I also appreciate.
Oh, thank you.
I actually, my choice, I actually, like, in the realm of rewatch, I think I actually enjoy more than this film. So it's a little bit higher praise, but Neighbors.
Okay, yeah, no, that's good.
I remember us going to Neighbors going, we're really only going because it's Seth Rogen. We didn't really care about what's his name?
James Franco or Zac Efron?
Zac Efron all that
Right.
much.
But I do now.
Yeah.
Because of Neighbors.
Yeah, like just seeing him in Neighbors, that movie just was way funnier than I could have ever anticipated, and actually had one of the best feminist messages that I would have ever anticipated coming out of a film like that. So, yeah, Neighbors.
That's great.
See Neighbors.
I'm going to go along those lines and say Get Hard, which was with Will Ferrell and Kevin Hart. And
Was that actually good?
It was actually funny. Like, I kind of like hate to love Will Ferrell. I cannot not laugh when he's on screen.
I guess to go with that one a little more. I don't know if it was, but like, I didn't think Old School was going to be that funny. I did.
I was convinced it was going to be great.
I just didn't think I was going to laugh that hard.
I'm just so glad they never made that sequel.
Yeah.
That would have been a bad idea. So I'm actually going to go for another Will Ferrell movie, because this is a movie that I was avoiding at all
Will Ferrell.
costs.
He's not getting a lot of hype in his movies.
I was convinced it was going to be terrible. I wanted nothing to do with it, and then every single fucking person I knew told me I had to
Like
watch
me.
it and I'd like it. Yes, like you. And I was like, no, I still don't want to watch it. And then eventually I did, and now I've watched it north of 20 times.
You own
It
it.
cracks my shit up. The Other Guys. It was a movie that I looked at and I'm like, nah, I'm not
Don't
gonna
go
like it.
chasing waterfalls, man.
Oh my god, there's so many just little things in that movie that will continuously crack me up. The constant TLC references that he doesn't understand. What's his name? The bad guy in the movie, Steve Coogan.
Yeah.
Oh,
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Like the whole he keeps bribing them and they're not realizing they're getting bribed. Like it's like the movie's just genius comedy, like beginning to end, and I love the shit out of it.
I actually know what I'm going to say. This one's better. Pain and Gain.
Oh, yeah.
I did
never
not
saw
think that.
Pain and Gain.
It was really good and really funny, and because one, it was based on a true story, and they actually were like literally following verbatim what they had on their notes for like
Yeah.
like they like stop you like an hour and 20 minutes in. They're like, by the way, still all real.
Oh, is that when he's grilling the dude's hands?
Yeah, he's grilling the dude's hands, and Wahlberg and Dwayne and Anthony Mackie, all three of them, they commit.
I forgot that was Anthony Mackie.
They
in that.
commit so much to their characters, and they're so real, and yet they're so crazy funny because of it. Like, so I would say that one was definitely. I was like, oh, it'll be like an action movie. Like, oh, this looks kind of shitty, and I was like, I'm really enjoying this right now.
I honestly think, given many years away from his career, that will go down as Michael Bay's best movie. Throw in the gauntlet.
Not The Rock?
Not The Rock, not Bad
Oh
Boys.
no,
Wow.
you can't beat The Rock.
You can, and it's called Pain and Gain.
Wow.
with The Rock.
I honestly believe so.
You can only use The Rock to beat The Rock. He's like a
Your
diamond.
best, your best. Losers say do your best. Winners go home and fuck the prom queen.
Damn it. Forgot about that line. I'm going to stick to my guns because I'm an American.
Yeah.
Much like in Pain
I
and Gain.
wouldn't mind gutting you, boy. I can quote the whole movie The Rock. All right.
Okay, so it's time for plugs. But stick around after the plugs for the answer to this question. If you could bring in any other MCU character, a la Thor in the a la Hulk in the upcoming Thor movie, who would you bring in to Ant-Man and Wasp? So plugs. You can find me on Twitter at @BryanRyan. You'll find my 1 or 2 tweets a month on there. You can find me on Instagram at Censorlord, which is CENZORLORD. And After the Hype Podcast at Facebook.com/AfterTheHype. Twitter, ATH_podcast, and everywhere else, just regular ATH podcast. One of these days, we might actually make all those uniform to make it easier on you, but we probably won't because that would take time and effort. Ryan.
I'm going to take this moment to actually say goodbye to our listeners for 6 weeks. I'm going on summer vacation, so this will be my last podcast with After the Hype for that many episodes. I'll be back in August, and in the meantime, you can follow me on Audio Adventures on Instagram, or please just like our page, facebook.com/AfterTheHype. Follow us, subscribe on iTunes to our podcast, and yeah, see you around.
Bye, Ryan. You'll be missed. Chewie, where can people find you?
That's just my normal plugs of you can find me on Twitter or Instagram as Chewie9, all one word, and it's an IE.
Okay.
Chewie.
Eric, where again can people find you?
I'm on Instagram, The Imperfect Chase. You'll see a lot of pictures of my dog and me doing open mics.
Nice.
And then if you want to follow me on Snapchat, it's Erik Chase 86. Chase like the running. And yeah, you can follow me on those two. Don't do Twitter, just do it Instagram. You can.
So answer to the question, who do we want in the MCU's Ant-Man? Out of the MCU in Ant-Man.
I'm going to go with the Vision. He would be hilarious to play off of Paul Rudd's, like, never take anything seriously, and the Vision doesn't like process humor?
My answer is actually very similar to that one. I want to do Black Panther for almost the exact same reason.
Yep.
Just I love the idea of Black Panther having to deal with Ant-Man and just being constantly annoyed at everything he's doing.
I will go with Jubilee because she's another character that a lot of people have made fun of in the past.
She sucks.
And you go and say that. And they keep kind of putting her in the movies where they're like, hey, look, we have an Asian girl wearing a yellow jacket. She's definitely Jubilee. Is she going to do anything? No.
She's going to say, hi, I'm Jubilee.
And yeah, so maybe if she's in a random movie that doesn't have to do with the X-Men, maybe she'll do something.
Man, I mean, that we've already known about that isn't
anyone, preferably from the MCU. But if you want to go out there, go for it.
Go out there. Gosh, I'm not as knowledgeable. I chose the word knowledgeable very kindly on that. Man, I mean, I would like to see Ant-Man with Ralph from the book as a kid. That's not the Marvel universe at all. That's just Ralph at the hotel. And he drives the car, and he has to eat. You guys never read this book as a kid?
That's the mouse and the motorcycle.
Yeah, that's the mouse and the motorcycle.
Okay, the mouse and the motorcycle. The mouse and the motorcycle with Ant-Man. That's the movie.
You had like some Kmart bootleg version of the mouse and the motorcycle named Runaway Ralph.
No, that's I just didn't know what to call it. Yeah, that's what we need to do because that would be
awesome.
To be fair, I haven't reread that book in ages, so
all I remember from that book is that
mouse name.
I just wanted something of the same. Like I would like something where he has to stay small size the entire movie.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, no, I like that. That's good. So thank you very much for everybody being on. Thank you for Ryan for coming out and for going away. Thank you so much for leaving for 6 weeks. It's gonna
You're
be
welcome.
so
Enjoy the time without me.
Get out of here. Why are go away?
Enjoy the LA summer heat.
So if the sound sucks for 6 weeks,
Man.
Yeah, the sound. Well, this is a preview of what the sound's going to sound like.
Oh,
so if
great.
this episode sucks.
I'm super jealous now because Canada in August.
maybe it'll be like
awesome.
the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movies, and that the sound will get better and better
Yeah,
each
but
time.
by 8 weeks in, we're going to be great.
It's
All right,
gonna
guys,
sound
6
like
weeks.
we're
But
touching you.
Time to go. Time to go.
Bye.